All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL props video. Going to be touching on my favorite prop bets for the NFL in Week 15 on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Now, I'm actually going to start off with the Underdog slip because I want to call out these kind of bets that are a little bit too good to pass up on, I would say, because Underdog is a little bit too high. And I'll be breaking down all my favorite PrizePicks bets, which you guys could also use if you are someone that bets on traditional sportsbook sites like DraftKings, FanDuel, and all those sites. So let's go in and get into it. And so first and foremost, we have a really good EV bet here where we're betting the lower tackles and assists of 7.5. I'll pull this up here on the 9-to-5 cheat sheet in just a second. But then we're looking at Kendrick Bourne to get under his fantasy score, and then also Derrick Henry to get under his fantasy score as well. The biggest reason as to why this is because Underdog is currently higher on their lines than PrizePicks with these two. And so I wanted to start with these two because one of the two sites is going to correct these lines. I would assume it's going to be Underdog just looking at the sportsbook data. We'll go ahead and take a peek at that. But just for example purposes here, guys, yes, I have it pulled up here. So I actually like Kendrick Bourne to get over his fantasy score. But the biggest difference here is that, again, PrizePicks is full point PPR. Underdog is half point PPR. That adjustment can be pretty big. And I know Derrick Henry is not someone that's typically going to get a reception, but Underdog is currently giving him one more reception than he's likely to get, is what the data is telling us. And so pulling it up, we can see that those two bets are clearly the top two bets that we currently have. Kendrick Bourne, I actually like his over 2.5 receptions. I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But even if he does get 2.5 receptions, we are seeing that Underdog is probably giving him one more reception in terms of the likelihood to hit. And then Derrick Henry as well. Like, he is likely to score a touchdown. That's part of the equation. Okay, but wonder if he doesn't, right? That's also part of it. Still, we see he has consistently gotten this under over the last 4 games. And so, we're just taking advantage of the line differences that we currently have. And then worth pulling it up here on the NFL specific sheet, we are seeing that tackles and assists prop is popping up as a good EV bet there. 54.2% likely to hit. So very good edges there. Nick Chubb is a little bit too high at Underdog as well for what that's worth. But with Nick Chubb, I don't like the fact that if he does score a touchdown, I mean, that's essentially the bet there is him not scoring a touchdown. And so if he does score a touchdown, obviously that drastically increases his likelihood to hit. And so I don't need to chase that one too much. And now for PrizePicks, we are getting some prop line differences. It's worth calling those out to you, but I want to go ahead and get into my favorite prop bets here, mostly on PrizePicks as well. So let's go ahead and touch on that. So guys, I like Adam Thelen to get over 4.5 receptions. This is a bet that earlier on the day was actually at about a 52.8% likely to hit. So we are seeing this line fluctuate a little bit in terms of the likelihood to hit. Now, the nice part about me giving this bet to you guys right now is it probably won't get bumped. Hopefully by the time most of you guys get in here, I do kind of expect it to get up to 5 because I do expect there to be a high volume coming in on this bet. And I had already recommended that I liked him to get over, I forget what the original line was. I think it was 49.5 receiving yards. That's been bumped a little bit. Some people have bet on that. I still think that's fine. I already released that video. Hopefully you guys got some of those bets in. Most of them got bumped a little bit. But I do like Adam Thelen. One, he has gotten this over in 2 straight games. And why is that important? Well, we knew that he had been recovering from injury over the last 3 weeks. And we have seen his snap share increase each and every game thus far to the point where he got about 70% of the snaps last week. And it was the target share last week as well. Double-digit targets, able to get 9 receptions in that game. And then 8 receptions as well as against Tampa Bay. Now, when we look at it, guys, yes, Tampa Bay, we would have expected him to get that over in that game. Philly, they have been more difficult. And I think that's more due to Bryce Young playing extremely well as well. I shouldn't say extremely well compared to what he had played in the previous seasons and thus far this season, much better. But with that improved play, obviously that does help out Adam Thelen. And in a weird way, kind of the nice part about Adam Thelen getting banged up is that he's still fresh. You're not worried about a veteran kind of wearing out as the season has progressed. I think it's a pretty solid matchup there going against Dallas. And this one just seems honestly, it seems like it should be at 5.5. Am I not wrong there? I don't know. I don't see why this line is at 4.5. It seems strange to me. So I'm perfectly happy to get to that bet. And then while we're at it, let's talk about Kendrick Bourne as well. Okay, so we are seeing his fantasy score over the last couple of weeks. He did have a touchdown in this game that got called back as well. He has been a target machine, and this is where I actually like it probably a little bit better on PrizePicks, but I did think it was worth calling it out on an Underdog, that outlier that we were getting data-wise. His role has seemingly been solid, but coming in off of an injury, we knew his snaps would be somewhat limited. but they have increased, and his role has seemingly increased about every week. Now you get a relatively okay matchup going against Arizona, coming in off of a bye week, should be fully healthy, ready to go. And I'm looking at the lines that we're getting for him, and I personally like the overs for them. Like his over fantasy score, again, I'd be fine with. We are seeing that prop line difference there. I'd be fine with that. But I actually like his over 2.5 receptions. But I do want to make it clear, this is more a bet on his role, one, still being there, but also potentially expanding a little bit more. It is kind of a lost season, so maybe Jalen Polk starts to get worked in there a little bit more, but they seem to like Kendrick Bourne, so I'm willing to bet on him to still be solid for us. And then another bet that I like is going to be Jwan Johnson to get over 3.5 receptions. Let's talk about the reasons as to why, and then I'll pull it up on the cheat sheet as well. So Jwan Johnson has played in over 70% of the snaps, both in route share and just snaps played over the last 2 weeks. Now, why is the last 2 weeks important? Well, we know that Taysom Hill has been out, and so they have kind of needed to go to more of a traditional offense. Now, I do think it's worth calling out that Jake Haener is most likely starting this week, so that does kind of hurt Jwan Johnson a little bit there. If Derek Carr was starting, I'd be much more inclined to bet on this, but I don't hate the matchup against Washington, assuming that he still has that role, and that's a lot of these bets, like assuming that the roles are still there, especially for a veteran like Jwan Johnson in a lost season, mostly for the Saints, with a backup quarterback. There is some concern there. It's not a lock, and though it doesn't feel like the easiest bet like Thelen does, but I'm still okay with this. I feel like this line is a little bit too low, given his snap share and really the targets lately as well. 5 targets and 7 targets. Even with Jake Haener in there, that should still be enough. Maybe even Jake Haener helps him out. We'll see. We do see sometimes rookie quarterbacks tend to throw to the tight end a little bit more. And for what it's worth, it is calling out. This is favored for the under 52%, but again, this is a bet that I personally like. Maybe it's a better traditional sportsbook bet rather than PrizePicks bet, but it's one that I'm kind of okay with. Again, if you guys are unfamiliar with this strategy, you guys are a 9-to-5 member, or if you're not, just pause and zoom in here. This kind of lists the reason as to why we want to go about doing that. Basically, a bet that has an over 54% likely to hit is going to increase our likelihood to have positive ROI on the season. And then from there, we're going to continue on, and we're going to make the bets that we're on a little bit tighter in terms of their likelihood to hit. But I do like Noah Gray to get over 3.5 receptions. And I do like that this is a demon bet. That's really the reason as to why I'm targeting it. Okay, he has been someone that we can clearly see has gotten the over in 5 straight weeks. This is something I mentioned a bunch now. I said it a few times here as well. When Rice got injured, and I believe it was when Pacheco got injured, I don't remember exactly, but it was the week that it was presumed, or I presumed, that he was going to be kind of the second best, or the second passing weapon in the offense, if you will. And he was a huge dud. I'm like, I really felt like that was the correct take. And now, since that point, we have seen that is really true. Getting about 5 targets in every single game, or 4 targets, and getting the over receptions in all those games there as well. Now, guys, if you don't want to bet on it as a demon bet, you can actually just run it out as a goblin bet. It's not going to reduce the payout too much at 2.5 receptions, okay? It is a 54.3% likelihood to hit, so not like a massive edge. So PrizePicks is not going to adjust the payout too much, and so I'm fine to get there with his over 2.5 receptions there as well. Now, here's another bet where I kind of like the demon bet part of it, and that's going to be Devon Vele to get over 3.5 receptions. We're going to see that's about a 46% likelihood. The issue with Vele is that we don't know his exact role. We know that Sean Payton has been a little bit random with his roles with the receivers. And actually, in the previous week, I actually really liked him there as well. And I wouldn't say it was necessarily the wrong call, but it kind of was. I mean, he had 4 targets. Just the issue was they're poor targets. Like, he was open a decent amount, and he just didn't get the ball. A little bit on Bo Nix there. But Bo Nix clearly trusts Courtland Sutton. But I do like this matchup going against Indy, and I'm kind of willing to bet on him kind of having that role that he had really prior to that week. And if he gets like 60% of the snaps plus and is the receiver number 2 in this offense, then I'm okay with that. I really only like it, though, as a demon bet because we're betting on that role to be there. And if the role is there where he's getting 1 or 2 manufactured touches in the passing game, then I like that bet as a solid bet. And I'm about to get into the PrizePicks bet of the day here, but want to call it, we are currently getting a decent EV bet here with Young Ho Koo to get 2 extra points made. Let's go, Kirk. Don't be terrible, and that should be a good one for us. Now, as always, guys, the boards are going to be updating throughout the day, and depending on when you are watching this, some of these bets might not be available. Make sure you are staying up to date with all the best bets by signing up for a 9to5 membership. You guys can get access to that for just $10 a month when you use the promo code KEEPCASH and get the first month for just $8. Take advantage of that great deal. And real quickly, first, guys, the Young Ho Koo bet is field goals made. You want to be doing field goals made. And I actually don't mind Amari Cooper to get over 3.5 receptions in this game. Now, the concern is that Dalton Kincaid is expected back, as well as Keon Coleman. And he didn't even play a lot of snaps in the last week. Only 59 or 54% of the snaps last week. That is a concern. But he did have a 62% route share. They were going against the Detroit Lions, in which could be... I still don't see Detroit as a Super Bowl team. But anyways, could be a preview of a Super Bowl matchup. And Detroit really gives up the second most receptions to opposing receivers. Okay, we saw him get 14 targets last week, going for 6 receptions and 95 receiving yards. He also had 221 air yards. And so if this game does have the potential to be a shootout, you get Amari Cooper one more week acclimated to this offense as well. I don't mind this being maybe part of a game stack if you guys like that, but I don't mind Amari Cooper to get over 3.5 receptions there as well. All right, so go ahead and getting into the 9to5 PrizePicks bet of the day. I already gave you guys the underdog bet set that I'm looking at there. Again, I like Noah Gray, over 2.5 receptions. If you want to do over 3.5, you can do that. I actually don't mind the idea of doing that with Adam Thelen as well. Potentially could run him out for over 5.5 receptions. Kendrick Bourne, I do expect him to continue to have that role, maybe even more of a role, so I don't mind his over 2.5 receptions. Young Ho Koo, we saw that's currently the best EV bet, so we're going to toss that in there. Jwan Johnson, do want to call it. That one has a 52% likelihood for the under to hit, so typically not a bet that I would like to call out on PrizePicks Underdog, more of a traditional bet, but I'm fine including that in a 5 or 6 slip bet as a flex bet. And then Amari Cooper over 3.5 receptions, hoping that game is more of a shootout and hoping that he still has the same role that he had last week, even though Dalton Kincaid and Coleman are expected back. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does about a lot. Thank you guys for watching. Comment your guys' favorite prop bet there as well. All right, that's all. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.